Eric Van Mater here, Ball State Baseball strength conditioning coach, Arsenal Fitness head coach. I'm going to take you through some foam rolling and some mobility tips for the hips and the lower body today. And so a lot of this is designed to help give you first passive flexibility. So can I just get there without having to load anything or stabilize anything? And then we're going to work on actually getting to a stable position with that new range that we're going to develop. So first thing you'll need, if you have access to it, it's a foam roller. You can use a PVC pipe. If you're really stiff, it'll dig in a little bit harder. This is a self-massage tool. So we're going to use this to just kind of touch all over the body. You really don't need to spend a lot of time under here. It's going to feel really good, but we don't really need to spend about more than 15-20 seconds in each spot. So we really want to just sit down on the ground, get it on the lower back, hug yourself as much as you can so it spreads the muscles on the back and around and out. And then you're just going to go nice slow rolls up and down the back. Go a couple full passes. You never really want to roll right into that lower part of the spine, but the upper 3/4 of it, you really do want to make sure we hit. Once you went a couple passes, go a couple small little rolls in and out. Like I said, we're only spending about 20 seconds here, and then you'll just rotate over onto your side. And we want to really get the lat. The lat goes all the way from the hip, all the way up the shoulder to the inside of the arm. So we really want to focus on getting that whole side body, trying to reach the arm as long as you can up overhead, so it creates some length, and get a nice good stretch in the lat. Get up into the back of the armpit. It's really tight up in there, which it generally is. You can saw back and forth a little bit like you're cutting a piece of meat. That'll help give you a little bit more relief in the back of the shoulder, so now I have a little bit better range. You'll do this on both sides. Then once we get into the back of the arm and shoulder, go to the side and back of the hip. Roll just all through the glutes, especially right on the outside of the glute, the lateral side of the hip here, right between the top of the thigh and the bottom of the hip, or the side of the hip. You get a couple different muscles that all kind of insert right in here, but you get a big return on your time invested on it. If we can get in here, get into that outside of the hip and the hip flexor, get into the quads, roll on the inside outside. So we're really just kind of roll over. What this does, it helps wake up the muscles in the lower body, and it helps get them more active and ready to get some stretch or some elasticity in them. Then we want to go to the calves. This is really big for us to be able to get into better squat positions, to be able to really open up and run in a jump as well. And so get into the calf area, the outside or the inside, down by the Achilles as well. And so once we went through everything in the body, then we want to take a band and get it attached to a post, something that's very anchored and it's not going to move. When you attach it, you just take it around and then loop one side into the small side and just loop around and tighten up on the post. First one we're going to start with is what's called a banded dragon or banded hip flexor stretch. You will step inside of the band. You can have a pillow for your knees, so that way the knee's not going to be on the surface. Then you want to cup it right around the bottom of the hip. It should come up right into the groin. That knee is going to go back on the ground. From here, if you have a roller or something to help you balance, it's also beneficial. The focus is really trying to stretch this hip into extension. So what I want is I want that band really pulling my hip forward, and I want this opposite heel in front of my knee. So what that does, it's really going to help me open up and create space here in the hips. And I want to keep my chest tall. I can use something here to kind of balance on and let that band do the work. So the point of this is to get in this big open position to let the band do the work for you. You're going to spend 60 seconds on each hip here. 60 to 120, 1 to 2 minutes. All right? No less than a minute. Once you get a minute each side there, then we'll go into a banded hip flexion. You lay on the ground. Take the band here. The band here is designed to just give you a little extra stretch. I'll open up those hips just a little more. So come right up around the hip crease. Opposite leg needs to be as straight and flat as you can keep it. You're going to grab the shin, keep your toes flexed to your shin, and then pull the shin straight into the chest, and the knee straight into the chest. Again, you're going to hold this one for no less than 60 seconds. All right. Once you get done with this for 60 seconds, this opposite leg will bend, and you'll cross the ankle or the foot over the knee here. And then what you'll do, shoulders stay glued into the ground. You can use a pillow here if it's needed for a little comfort on the neck. And then we're just going to rotate the hips down to the ground, try to keep that shoulder glued in. show you the opposite hip here so you can see what I'm doing with my hand. So we're crossed over, rotating down. And from here, I can use this thigh to push my knee up. I can grab my hand, but then I want to think about letting my knee or my thigh just rotate open and band is pulling me open. So you should feel a nice big stretch on the outside of the hip here. Once you went through each one for at least 60 seconds, so that helps us gain that passive flexibility we're looking for. We want to be able to get the range of motion. But it does us no good if we can't actually stabilize our body in the range of motion. One of the best things that I like to use for our guys on the baseball team at Ball State is a 3-foot elevated split squat. If you really struggle with balance, you can use a PVC pipe or a post to help you. You want a height that's going to be just below the knee generally. We're going to put the back toes flat up or the shin up on the bench of the box here. What I think about keeping my chest tall, and I'm trying to just sink my knee down to the ground behind me. So I'm trying to load the front hip and stretch the back hip. So now I'm back in this kind of tall posture like I was in the banded hip flexor. I'm going to come back up. I'm going to go down nice and slow. And go back up. If I don't need the pose, I don't need it, but I want good, stable control. If I find myself dancing all over the place, I'm not going to be able to open up the hip. So I want to make sure I have a good, stable position. And I'll use balance if you cannot use the balance where you need it. From there, then we go into a deep bridge march with a pause. So a glute bridge, shoulders getting down to the ground. My heels are in close to the hips, hip width apart. I'm going to press my heels into the ground so I drive my hips up high up into the air. I'm going to straighten one leg, trying to keep my hips stable and not let them dump. Pause for 3 seconds. Switch sides, pause for 3 seconds. I'm going to go 10 reps on each leg. I want to try to keep my core nice and tight the whole time. I want to keep my hips up. I don't want to let them sink down. I'm trying to keep the hips high to the ceiling. Once you went 10 each leg there, then we're going to take a lateral lunge or a wide stance position. I want you trying to get as wide as you can. Toes are going to be relatively forward. I'm going to push into this opposite hip, keeping this side straight. I'm trying to load this leg just like I would in a squat when this knee is in line with the middle of the foot. And I'm going to reach my arms out in front of me. I'm going to hold 1, 2, 3, and back up. When I get that in range here, I want to reach my arms long in front of me because that's going to pull my chest up a little bit rather than have this bent over position here. I want to be able to open up the hips, keeping my spine nice and straight, nice and neutral, because that's going to actually create space in the hip. If I go and I just round to the lower back, I'm not going to get as much space created in the hip, and I'm just compensating through the spine. So I want to make sure that I'm really trying to keep that spine nice and straight, reach the arms long as I sink into that hip, and push myself back up out. So the point of this is to really, like I said, give you more range of motion. Not only do we need to develop range of motion, to be able to create stability in that range of motion so we can use it when we're out on the field. Hope this helps.